Hi, welcome to Crafty Little Things. I'm Andrea and today I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous octagonal box, which is massive. It has a huge capacity, and the way I've made the opening is so that you can get lots in there really easily. It also sits nicely like that, so it'll sit on any of its sides nicely. So it could be used as a display box for something on a craft stand, have stuff pouring out of it or whatever, and you could decorate the inside panels as well. It's a really versatile little box. It can be filled with, you know, you could put a nice scarf in there, you could fill it with tissue, pop chocolate, homemade chocolates in there. You could slide in things like embellishment pots, you know, the round pots. You could put makeup in there. It could be used for virtually anything. You could even lay a big candle down on the side. It's a great size to make a little pamper kit. So to put a face mask, a lip balm, some little hot chocolate sachet, things like that. It's fabulous. Now this was my prototype and I made a little mistake with it, but we're going to correct that mistake in the final version, which is what I'm going to show you today. Today's is going to be a totally different colour scheme. I'm going to use some hand stamped DSP, and it's not going to have this strip across here. This is just going to be plain, and the side panels are going to be the same as the panels on the main thing. Now you do need an octagon shape. You need 4 octagon shapes where each side measures 1.5 inches, so each side measures 3.8 centimetres. Now you can either cut some out on a cutting machine. Just make sure that these sides are 1.5 inches, and that is what the size after it's cut is. You can use a die. I have done a mini haul with these dies. It's a set of nesting octagons that I got from AliExpress really cheaply. So you could go and buy yourself a set of dies, because I also use a smaller die for the label. Or you can just freehand, you draw out an octagon that's this shape. You'd need a 3 3/8. So that's 8.6 centimetre square to lop the ends off for that. Okay, right, so let's get started then. So what you're going to need for this is 2 pieces of cardstock. This one's going to be made in black, and they must measure 6 inches by 7.5 inches. So that's 15.2 centimetres by 19 centimetres, and both should measure the same. Have to forgive me, I think my blades need changing again. Everything's going a little bit fluffy on the edges. If you cut those from 2 pieces of A4, then you'll be able to get a strip down the side of your A4, which is 1/2 inch, which you'll use for your handle. So that's the full length of an A4 piece by 1/2 inch. So that's 1.3 centimetres, and that's for your strap. As I said, I used a small hexagon, but you can use any shape you want. You can use a punch if you want. And I just cut a piece of vellum and a black background, and just punched a hole in the top, and I'm going to thread that on with some retired Stampin' Up twine from last year actually. This is the Halloween twine, you might recognise it. So I'm going to fasten mine on with that this time. And I am going to use the little gold library clip again. Then you need 2 hexagons out of one of the pieces that you're left with from cutting out these. You can get 2 hexagons, so 2 black hexagons. And then what I did was I hand stamped some DSP. I'll show you a bigger piece of it. I'll insert a clip here actually. So yeah, so this is a piece of that DSP. I made a little mistake at the bottom right. I don't know if you saw that on the actual video, but it doesn't really matter, and because I never use that piece anyway. But isn't that gorgeous? That's using Pacific Point and black, and the stamps that I used was Love What You Do, and I obviously use this flower, and then I use the splodger in Pacific Point, and then I use the little flower and the leaf, all from the same set. So what you need is 2 pieces of two octagons, and then you need 7 strips that measure 1 3/8 by 4 7/8. So that's 4.8. Yeah, 1 3/8. Sorry, that's 3.5 centimeters by, can't remember my life me, 3.5 centimeters by 12.4 centimeters, and you need 7 of those, okay, and I've cut them from my DSP. And then you need 2 pieces that are slightly smaller, so they're the same length, but they're a 1/16 of an inch less than 3/4 of an inch. So they're just under 4.5, they're sort of 4.3, sorry, they're just under 3/4 of an inch. So they're like 1.4 centimetres, something like that. 1.4 centimetres, I'd say. And that's it, that's all you need. Right, so put all that aside. You're going to need some glue as well, and a little bit of patience. So put all that to one side, and we'll get the scoring board out. Now, oops. Both pieces are scored more or less the same. Not quite, but they're scored at 1/2 inch on the shorter side. They're scored at 1/2 inch on each end. And don't worry, when I do the second piece, I'll do it in centimetres, okay? So 1/2 inch at each end on the shorter side. Then turn to the longer side, and you want to score at 1 3/4. So this is the little flap at the top that stands up. This is the side, half the sort of side of the top flap. 3 1/4, 4 3/4, 6 1/4, and then you're at your 7 1/2. Right, so then you need to do the other one exactly the same. So we'll do the other one in centimetres. So you need to score at 1/2 inch, which is 1.3 centimetres, and 5 1/2, which is 14 centimetres. And then turn onto the longer side, and you need to score at 1 inch, which is 2.5 centimetres. 1 3/4, which is 4.5 centimetres, and then you need to score at 3 1/4, which is 8.3 centimetres, and then you need to score at 12.1 centimetres, and then you need to score at 15.9 centimetres. Okay. Now we do need one more score line, because this is how it's all going to go together. But if we look at it at the moment, as they overlap, just so it wasn't too bulky, as they overlap, you've only got 1 1/4 inch, and you need 1 1/2 inches. So what you have to do is just mark 1/4 inch on one of your pieces. So on this piece, I'm just going to mark at 6 1/2 as well. So you've got those two lines together, 6 1/4 and 6 1/2. And so I'm just marking on one of them at 16.5 centimetres. Okay. So it's when it all goes together like that, it's exactly the same, except on one piece at the end, you've got that extra mark. So you've got your 1 inch, your 3/4 of an inch, your panels. This is going to be the bottom. You've just got that extra mark there, and that's just so you know to just glue up to there. Okay, and that's all there is to it. So we'll put that away. Now we're going to score our lines. So I'm going to score in the side ones first. I chose to use my big Paper Mania scorer for this one because it just it's just a bit more heavy duty and it can get into places without me getting gunky. So you want to score your first 3 from your bottom, which is your sort of 1 1/4 score line. You score your first 3 so they're mountain folds, and then after that you need to score this top one here. Needs to come back as a valley fold because that's your flap on the top. That one there needs to go down as a mountain fold. Okay, and this one here, sorry, it needs to come back as well. I mean, it doesn't matter because you can always sort it out later, but you want to end up with that, which is a kind of a weird old pattern, isn't it? So I'll try, and it doesn't really matter because you can sort it out later. So if we go this time to try and make it clearer, we're going from the 1 inch side, okay? So the 1 inch side, it needs to be a valley because it's going to be the top of your bag. The next score needs to be a mountain. And then the next score is where your bag's going to open, so it needs to be a valley. And then your next score needs to be a mountain. And your next score needs to be a mountain. And then that score line there is just a guide. You don't need to score that one at all. That little tiny one there, you don't need to score that. Okay, so that's how it's all going to go together, like that. It's starting to take shape already. Okay, so now I just need to score the sides because I didn't just score the sides on this one. I should have scored the sides first really, but never mind. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen black as a colour because it's a bit difficult to see. Mind you, no, it's not actually. That we can see those score lines better than you could on white. Right, so now a little bit of cutting then. On each piece we need to cut away, if you look at the top end where you've got your 1 inch and your 3/4 inch, you need to cut away all 3 of these panels here. Okay, so it's up to you whether you just hack them all out at once or whether you take them out in sections, but just be very careful and get them out. Okay, my big scissors are totally gunked up. I think I definitely need to invest in some new ones. I've seen some on Stampin' Up don't do big scissors, but I've seen some on Every Craft's a Pound, so I might buy some from there. The X-cut ones, they're a really good price. Do that on both pieces, take those ends off. This is just your where your bag closes, so you don't need that in the way. Okay, so we can shape the top later. Now what we want to do is we want to cut up these score lines to make these flaps. Now these flaps do need to be notched in, so it's up to you what you do. You can either cut up and then notch in, or you can just notch in the 2 ends and then just cut a triangle out with the score line in the middle of it. hope that was all easy to follow. And now what I tend to do is, what I'm going to do is glue my two pieces together. So what you want to do is your piece with the little guide score line, you want to take your other piece and you want to butt it up to that score line, and then this will give you a 1.5 inch wide panel, which is what you want. So I'm going to just pop some Tombow on. This Tombow has been going forever. And I'm just going to butt it up to that score line, just so we know we're in the right place. Okay, and now you can see we've got 2 flaps for this side, for this panel, which we don't need. So in actual fact I could have cut off, I forgot what I did last time was I cut 1 off each end, but I've totally forgot about that, so I'll cut it off now. So that little flap can go, sorry about that. Like I said, I've only made it once and I made a mistake with this bit, so this is the first time I'm getting it right, kind of thing. And it doesn't matter that's a little bit short, don't worry about that at all. Right, so now we can decorate it. Well, I'm not decorating the top. I've already said I'm not decorating the top, but I'm decorating every other panel. So if you get your panels, you'll see where they all fit, because your 2 slim ones go there, and then everything else goes into where it should go. This is, did I say this is stamped with black and Pacific Point? That's all I've used for this. And it is directional, so the flowers do need to be pointing the right way up, and the leaves need to be pointing the right way up. So remember to switch it around if you've got a directional paper when you get to the other side. Obviously the bottom one doesn't matter, but and then just have a look and think, is there a piece I'd rather have on my main box, or am I happy with that? I'm happy with that. Okay, so then we'll just stick these all down. So I'll just speed up while I go through that, because all I'm doing is Tombowing it and sticking it down. And there we go. So there we have it. We're nearly done. So now what we want to do is take our black panels, because they're going to go on the inside. The stitching is here, so I'm going to have that on the inside so it looks nicer. Okay, so your bottom panel wants to stand on the one that's lapped over, and then these little panels, these little flaps want to come up, okay, onto those 3 places. Now I find it easier to just glue those panels on each side. I think this is finally given up now. Oh no, it's not. There's still more in it. Glue those 10 little flaps, And then what I do is, and you can put your glue away, I get the bottom of my octagon and I line it up with that edge, that score line, and I lift that panel up and I stick it on and I hold it until it's stuck. And then I find that it's easier to then move on to the next octagon, the next flap. Lift that up, stick that on, keep it really nice and tight up to that edge, and then my last one, and hold. Okay. And then come back the other way, hold, push it right up and hold. And then once that's all on, I can lay it down, get my bone folder, and I can push it into those corners and make sure it's nicely pressed down everywhere. Okay. And then I can do the other side. And obviously the other side's going to be different because I can't roll it the way I rolled the first side. So I just make sure my stitching's on the inside. And I always start with the bottom. Make sure that's nice and flush and that it's stuck nice and tightly. And then that just helps you to do the others. And the second side will be easier because you're already there essentially. So just pop your panels on, get them to stick, and then just lay it down and press them all on nice and tight. I do find with black it's a little bit harder to see what you're doing inside. So there we go. We've more or less got our box sorted now. All we've got to do now is pop our side panels on. So I don't think that glue's got any more life in it. I'm going to tip it upside down and just pop it in my Tombow station just in case it has. But before we pop our side panels on, we need to put a handle on. Now you can either attach your handle to this or you can attach it to this. It's up to you, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to pop mine on my end panel. So at the top panel, just pop some glue, sort of like, I don't know, 1/2 inch worth, and then pop your handle on and hold it down. And then do the same on the other side. So your top panel for about a little splodge, and then hold it down. Then we're going to cover that up with the end panel. So I would just hold that down, press it down with your bone folder, and then turn the panels on the side. Decide if you want a top, bottom or middle, or if there's a right way up or a wrong way up. I'm going to put mine like that and then just lay it over the top. Make sure that those two pieces are lined up perfectly. And then when you think they are, just snip them off together. On the same kind of angle. Just for my little tags here, I'm going to use this grey and black baker's twine for it. I don't know if there is a Pacific Point baker's twine. If there is, then that would be ideal, or Pacific Point ribbon. Really sorry about that. Somebody's car alarm's going off out there. Seems to be having a bit of trouble with it. And then you can either tie it to your tag, or you can tie it to your handle and let your tag fall down. And if you want to write on a to and from or anything on it, you can stick another white hexagon on the back of the tag so that you can write on it. I'm just going to put mine through. I always make things difficult on myself. I'm going to just put mine through my little clip and knot it. I'm not a fan of bows in this. And there we have it. Okay, so take care and hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you. Bye bye.